police.
Police? What have I done? I just walked down the wrong driveway.
You sure did. Well, this is one stakeout that really paid off. Take him to the car.
I was working on the problem of divorcing some interlocking corporations, working against the clock in an effort to complete the job before my scheduled appointment with a frantic client.
Casey, I need some help with these papers.
Well, Casey went out for about an hour. May I help you, Mr. Morris?
If you're familiar with corporation and antitrust laws.
Miss Tanner is here to see you.
Have her come in.
Mr. Morris, Miss Tanner.
Thank you, Miss.
Miss Tanner?
Mr. Marriott,
Sit down, won't you?
can the police department be sued for false arrest?
The police department? Oh, I thought it was your brother that was in trouble.
That tells my brother's election to president of his high school class. Is that the background of a criminal? Here he is, head of the debating team. Here he is, captain of the football team. Here is his honorable discharge from the Army, from private to top sergeant. He would have gone higher except for his wounded leg. Now, Mr. Maris, I ask you again, is that the background of a criminal?
Why did they arrest him?
Well, they say that they caught him trying to break into somebody's house yesterday.
Please, sit down, won't you?
And they say they actually accuse him of robbing somebody's house in Towson Park last week. Mr. Maris, Joe is a born leader, not a petty thief.
Miss Tanner, was anyone with Joe at the time of the Towson Park burglary? Does he have an alibi?
I don't know. But I have references for Joe from some of the leading citizens of this city.
I'm afraid he'll need more than character references.
Mr. Maris, I'm afraid that you don't understand about Joe. Now, you don't know him. When he got out of the service, he wasn't able to move around very well because of his leg. I saw to it that he took proper care of himself. In the meantime, I used my business associations to see that he got a position that was up to his capacities.
What was Joe's reaction to this?
Why, he was pleased, of course. Joe knows that We're building his career very carefully, step by step. A man of his capacities...
Is Joe working now?
Well, no. His leg still bothers him. He just hasn't been able to apply himself. He's left several positions just as he was getting started, but always with the highest recommendations.
Miss Tanner, your brother isn't working now. You don't know where he was at the time of the crime. I'm deeply impressed by the honors he's received, but I'm afraid
How
that...
could I have forgotten?
The president's medal.
So the president gave him a medal for being a leading young citizen. Herb, that doesn't give him a license to steal.
But did he steal?
You take a look at the stuff we found on him. Screwdriver, knife, pliers, breaking and entering tools. Here's a newspaper account of a burglary last Friday in Towson Park. $800 in cash and over $2,000 in jewelry, furs, and wedding gifts. Nobody was at the house. Everybody was at the wedding of the daughter. Now, Herb, that's the 7th Friday night wedding burglary in the last 3 months. Why was he carrying that clipping? And here's a newspaper wedding announcement. We picked up Joe Tanner in front of that house, carrying that announcement and carrying these tools.
The fact that he had a newspaper article on a burglary doesn't prove that he did it.
No, and the fact that he had that newspaper wedding announcement doesn't prove that he was going to pull another job. But the cold, hard fact is that we caught him in a stakeout at that house. And furthermore... Excuse me. Come in, Joe. Joe Tanner, this is Mr. Maris.
Joe?
I'll be down the hall for a few minutes as a guard outside.
Joe, sit down. I'm an attorney. Your sister came to see me. She showed me this.
Worked with you too, huh? My sister thinks that medal's a golden key.
Your sister thinks you deserve that medal.
Catherine's all right. It's just that she's a trophy collector.
Joe, did you commit that burglary at Towson Park?
No.
Can you prove that you didn't?
I don't have to prove it. They say they have a witness that saw me there. I'm going to be in the lineup. Well, I didn't do it, so she can't identify me.
Were you going to rob the house where you were picked up?
Yes, I was. But I changed my mind. Before they arrested me, I was walking away when they caught me. I didn't touch a door or a window of that house. The most they have on me is trespassing.
Lieutenant Weston is a very good and a very thorough police officer. If he pursues this case, you can be sure it will result in more than an indictment for trespassing.
If I go to jail, my sister will get me the job as a warden. Now look, Mr. Maris, I can't pay you, and I don't want my sister to pay you. I don't want any help from either one of you. My leg is acting up. Excuse me.
Well,
You said the burglaries were all committed on Fridays. Yet you picked Joe up on a Tuesday.
so he changed his M.O. He's guilty.
I don't know whether or not he's innocent or guilty. But I'm interested enough to check further.
Well, Herb, don't waste your time. If he has an alibi, why doesn't he use it?
He doesn't think he needs it, and I'm convinced he won't use it. You know, John, at this point, you don't really have a very strong case.
Perhaps not, but I think before the day's over, I'll have enough for an indictment.
I'm sorry I'm late, especially since you were kind enough to meet me here instead of your office. But I was reading the want ads, and I found the most wonderful position for Joe. I went to see the personnel director.
Slightly premature, aren't you?
Never too early to sew up a good job, Mr. Maris. When will Joe be released?
Your brother refuses to cooperate. He won't tell me where he was on the Friday of the Towson Park burglary.
If he wouldn't tell me, he won't tell anyone.
Miss Tanner, I'm assuming for the moment that your brother didn't commit that crime. Where could he have been at the time? And more important, why won't he tell us?
I don't know. We've never had any secrets from each other. I usually know everything he's doing. But lately, Joe's been going off on his own, alone. You see, he hasn't worked in the last few months because of his leg. He's fond of the beach, the lake, or my cabin in the mountains. He could have been at any one of those places, but he won't tell me.
Does Joe have any money?
Well, he couldn't have much. He's exhausted his savings. I've tried to lend it to him. I've tried to give it to him, but he refuses. You're not inferring because he needed money, he stole it.
I'm not inferring anything. He couldn't do very much at the beach or the lake without money. That leaves the cabin. Will you give me directions?
I'll draw you a map. You start up the mountain highway.
I'm looking for information about the Tanners. Do you know them?
Them? There's only one, Joe. Has this something to do with his cabin?
Well, in a way, yes. Look, Miss,
Mather, Wanda Mather.
Miss Mather, don't worry about my being a lawyer. I know Joe. I'm working for him, not against him.
Well, it's just that I wouldn't want to do anything to hurt him. He suffers enough as it is.
You mean his leg injury?
That's right. First time I saw Joe, he was sitting here on these steps, rocking back and forth, just miserable. You're a lawyer. Joe hurt his leg in a factory accident. Can't he get compensation for that?
Factory accident? Well, I can check on it. What else do you know about Joe?
Very little. And yet, quite a lot. He told me he has no family, no education. What I really know about him is purely from observation. He's gentle, has a native intelligence and ability. And he's tired. Not physically, but mentally. But this place is good for him. He comes up here harassed and irritable, and in just a few minutes he's better. You know what his ambition is?
No, what?
There's a small general store about 3 miles down that road. Joe wants to buy it and run it.
What do you think of the idea?
If that's what he wants, that's what he should do. If he can raise the money.
When did you see Joe last?
Well, past weekend. He came up Friday and went back Monday.
Were the two of you together on Friday?
All day. And that evening, too. We went to the Summit restaurant for dinner.
Did anyone see the two of you together on Friday afternoon?
I guess not. We spent most of the time cleaning out his cabin. Mr. Maris, I've answered all of your questions. Now tell me, why are you checking on Joe?
One more thing. Will you write out a statement for me?
Well, certainly, but why?
To help Joe.
Hi, Herb.
Hi.
What's this?
A statement explaining Tanner's whereabouts on Friday afternoon, the day of the robbery. He was with this girl, Wanda Mather, all day.
An alibi from Joe Tanner's girlfriend, unsupported by any other witnesses. Now, you take a look at it. Oh, here it is. Statement from an eyewitness. Mrs. Hines. She picked Joe Tanner out of a lineup and positively identified him as the man seen leaving the scene of the crime through an open window.
She's mistaken.
Now, Herb, I could be kind and say that Joe's girlfriend is mistaken. But as far as I'm concerned, that is a prearranged alibi. You think clearly. You're defending that medal.
And what the medal has caused.
I firmly believed that Joe Tanner was innocent, in spite of the conflicting statements of Wanda Mather and the eyewitness, Mrs. Hines, and was determined to prove it. But first I had to find out why he'd lied to Wanda Mather about his background.
I was going to refuse to see you, then I thought I'd get this thing settled once and for all. I don't want your help or anyone else my sister hires. Will you tell her that?
Sit down, Joe. Sit down. Now, you'd better cooperate with me unless you want to go to prison.
I've thought about that. I'd rather go to prison than be helped again by Catherine.
I'm not doing this for your sister. I'm doing it for you.
I don't believe that.
Wanda does.
Wanda? My sister doesn't know about Wanda.
No, I didn't tell her.
Do you know what Catherine would do? First, she'd decide whether Wanda was good enough for me, the leading young citizen. If so, she'd plan the wedding, arrange the honeymoons, furnish our apartment suitable to her high standards, and get me another young executive's job.
You underestimate Wanda.
You underestimate Catherine. She's a nice person, but she's been running my life ever since our parents died. Started in high school. I graduated with honors, scholastically and athletically. Then I got the President's Medal. Then I got shot in the leg in Korea, and ever since then I've been living in a trophy case.
Don't you have other relatives?
Sure, but they're all the same way. I'm not Joe, I'm not Cousin Joe, I'm not Nephew Joe. I'm Joe with the wounded leg with the medal. They all live in a phony, reflected glory. If I say my leg hurts, they don't think of the pain. They think of the wonderful way I got the pain. Have you ever had a job you didn't like?
Yeah, most of us have at one time or another.
True, but I have every time. Every job in executive's position. And every time doing something I wasn't interested in. Between that and my leg, I never lasted long. But Catherine always comes up with another one. Mr. Maris, I've had it. She dominates me. She wins every discussion, always for my own good. Well, I've got to get away from her and find a life of my own.
As a general storekeeper.
That was my plan.
And marry Wanda.
Yes. Wanda's a wonderful change for me. She's kind and sympathetic. If I say I want to run a store, she doesn't try to get me in as vice president of a chain of supermarkets. She doesn't know anything about medals and honors. She accepts me for what I am.
Joe, why were you going to break into that house?
For the down payment on the store. I couldn't ask Catherine. I got up to the window and I couldn't do it.
All right, Joe. You going to work with me now?
Sure.
Now, Joe, you better take this. We'll be ready in a minute, Herb.
Don't worry, Joe. Just do what you tell me.
I don't mind doing this, Mr. Maris, but it's a waste of time. I recognized that man immediately when I saw him at police headquarters.
Well, just to be sure, you fully realize that the prosecution is counting on your testimony to send that man to prison.
His guilt will send him to prison, Mr. Maris. Don't blame it on my testimony.
All set, Herb.
All right, Miss Hines.
Now, for his sake, I hope he doesn't move the wrong way.
All right, Miss Hines. Start at the beginning.
Well, it was Friday afternoon. I knew the people in this house were at their daughter's wedding. And I was in the kitchen of my house, and as I walked over to the sink, I happened to look out the window, and I saw that window being raised.
Joe, raise the window. Is that your kitchen?
Yes.
Let's go over there. All right, Miss Hines. Have Joe do everything just as you saw it.
Lean out the window and drop the bag. No, with your right hand. Now come out the window. Right leg first. Now jump forward like you did before.
Well, go ahead and jump. Mrs. Hines said jump.
Mr. Maris, I said I'd cooperate, but I'm not going to jump for that window. Not with this leg.
Thanks, Joe. Would you jump? Joe has a bad leg. It isn't likely he'd jump. Are you still sure?
Well, he jumped before, landed on his feet, picked up the bag, and ran down the driveway. By the time I got to the front door, all I could see was a car a block down the street speeding away.
Listen, lady, you didn't
Thanks
see
for
me.
your cooperation.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Hines.
You're welcome.
Joe, that house where you were picked up, why'd you choose that one? Why a wedding home? Why not a filling station or a liquor store?
I'd quit my job and gone up to the cabin to get away from Catherine and be with Wanda. We went down to the Summit Lodge to get dinner Friday night. It's the only restaurant around that area. It's a place where everybody stops to eat and get gas before going down the other side.
I know where it is.
Wanda and I were at the bar having a drink, and two fellows came in and sat next to us. I guess we looked pretty lovey-dovey because they kidded us about getting married. One of them made a joke about the expense of getting married and mentioned the robbery at the wedding house in Towson Park. They finished their drinks and left.
Is that what gave you the idea?
No, not until morning when I read the paper. I got to thinking about the general store. This looked like a good way to get the money and let somebody else take the blame for it. I saved the newspaper clipping.
What time Friday night were those men talking to you?
I guess about 7:30.
John, they couldn't have known that early.
Unless they pulled the job themselves.
If he's telling the truth.
There's one way of finding out. The mug books. You'd recognize those men?
Sure. I see them up there a lot. They come up on Fridays and spend the weekend hunting.
Let's go.
I assume you're Lieutenant Weston. I've been in and out of your office 10 times today. Nobody in your department knows where you are or how to get in touch with you. Mr. Maris, I am employing you, and I expect to be informed and consulted on every step you take regarding my brother. Henceforward, I expect you to... You've been out all day, and I haven't heard from you. What have you been doing? Why didn't you take me with you so I could ascertain whether these two are really helping you or not?
Catherine, Mr. Maris has helped me. More help than I've ever had. They both have. I'm not your responsibility. I'm your full-grown brother, responsible for my own successes and my own failures. Now, you think that over, and until you can agree with it and accept it, stay out of my life. Lieutenant. I don't see either one of them in there.
John, you must have had other suspects before Joe.
They're in there. Well, what now?
One more chance.
One more chance?
Those strangers that Joe talked to that Friday night at the bar.
Summer Ridge Cafe. Yeah, it's worth a try. Let's go, Joe. It looks as if this extra chance your client's getting isn't doing any good.
It's too early yet. Give it a chance. Could be the same man Mrs. Hines saw.
Hi, remember me? Friday night, you were kidding my girl and me about getting married. You know, the little brunette.
Oh, yeah. Cute kid.
You remember you were telling me about the robbery in Towson Park?
Yeah?
Well, I read about it in the paper the next morning.
Well, nice seeing you.
Spin around, keep your hands on the bar. Jerry. Now, how did you know about the robbery before the newspapers and radio got it? Take him out of here, Jerry. Well, Joe, you should consider yourself lucky. Mr. Maris here has just given you another chance to live up to the president's medal.
From now on, Joe, you're really going to have to earn it.
We cleaned out their cabins. No wonder none of the stuff turned up at the local fences. They had enough wedding gifts there for a dozen weddings.
Speaking of weddings, John, we've just been invited to one.
Really?